Senator, you were not here at the early part of the meeting.
I saw you on TV.
Well, congratulations, and you would know that I'm unable to answer those questions, and they should be referred to
Mr.
Attorney
Secretary,
General Blanche.
what about the addendum to this agreement? Are you familiar with what the addendum is?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Are you familiar with this giveaway from the IRS that says President Trump and anyone that knows him or does business with him or part of a business, they get off scot-free? Are you aware of this?
Again, I refer you to Attorney General Blanche.
Are you Attorney General Blanche's client?
The IRS and Treasury are a client of the Department of Justice.
So is that a nice way of saying yes? You're a client, he's your lawyer.
He represents...
You're the Secretary, are you the Secretary of Treasury? Yes is the answer.
The Department of Justice...
Scott Bessent, let me ask you this question, sir. Are you the Secretary?
In my personal capacity, Tom Blanche is not my attorney.
Correct, sir.
Are
you, sir,
for the
Mr.
U.S.
Secretary,
Treasury,
Scott, let me ask it this way. Scott, are you the Secretary of Treasury for the United States government?
Yes.
Appreciate that. The Department of Justice represents the IRS and the Department of Treasury in this lawsuit, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware of this addendum? You're telling me DOJ gave the president this without you knowing about it?
Again, they settle on our
All right,
behalf.
well, that's not how the law works, sir. I'm not a lawyer, but you have a bunch of them behind you. You should see the faces they're making at me behind you. They're all scowling at me back over here.
Well, I think that's a different reason, sir.
Well, for whatever it is, they're doing it. Mr. Secretary, my concern is that this addendum's not been getting a lot of attention. There's colleagues on this panel that think this slush fund is a bunch of bullshit. And they've called out to say, get rid of it. Now, people need to say, are you okay with one person in America, because the Secretary of Treasury, I'm guessing, conferred with the Department of Justice, because you're named on this lawsuit, sir. These are all the transactions from the president as well, that I'm going to ask you this next question as well. You were bragging to one of my colleagues that you've been sanctioning people doing bad things in America. People that get sanctioned, like Iran or terrorists, they're told not to do business in the United States with partners. Is that your understanding, sir, me as a layman?
It is.
You hold these bad people accountable. I congratulate you for that. So this little giveaway to President Trump and his family gets them off scot-free. Does every American become part of this addendum? If someone didn't pay their taxes or violated tax law or did bad things, are they told, can't prosecute you, you're good? Everyone going back to the date of this, or is this only for President Trump and his affiliates?
Senator, do you have specific knowledge that President Trump's being audited?
Sir, I have specific knowledge of this addendum that you don't know a damn thing about. That is for the Department of Treasury, that your lawyer at the Department of Justice signed you up for. The reason I'm asking this question is because President Trump's sons signed a deal, as you know, with World Liberty Financial, with a bunch of folks you sanctioned. And now, as part of this, there's an addendum that says President Trump and his kids and anyone affiliated with him, I don't know if it's current wives, former wives, people that just did transactions with him, they're off scot-free. That, you know, that has a new way, a new ring to it, this thing, scot-free, because the Department of Treasury and the IRS is not going to go after him, sir. This is wrong. This is lawless. I hope our colleagues will look at this addendum. If I could offer this into the record, Mr. Chairman, for those that haven't seen it yet.
Without objection.
Come on, man. There's a better way of doing this, sir. That's all we're saying here. So, look, I appreciate it if you don't want to talk about a lawsuit. That's your prerogative to answer that way. But to say that you as a client, as Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, does not know what the Department of Justice is giving away to people, come on, man. That's just not on the up and up, sir. I hope we can do
don't
better.
Understand the way the protocol works, and we receive advice and accept their settlement.
You're telling me as the Secretary of U.S. Treasury, you don't know that the President of the United States who I think you work for, got a sweetheart deal from the Department of Justice, who's your lawyer.
I do know.
You're in line for the presidency, Scott.
I do know that the President of the United States and many of his employees had the largest tax leak in history. And
I know, here's his filing, sir, of all the insider trading, right here.
Do you want to apologize on behalf of the American government?
Scott, you should apologize to the American people for fleecing them and giving this away to Donald Trump, man. That's what you should do.
We can agree to disagree.
Senator Warnock.
That we'll agree on.
Have you ever watched a Senate hearing where the question seems simple at first, but every answer opens an even bigger controversy? That's exactly what unfolded during this exchange between Senator Martin Heinrich and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. What started with straightforward questions about enforcing the law quickly turned into a tense debate over accountability, the role of the Justice Department, and whether the rules are being applied equally to everyone. The senator began with a series of questions that almost anyone in the room could agree with. Should people who deliberately evade taxes face prosecution? Should organizations that help sanctioned countries or criminal groups move money be investigated? Should individuals who profit from illegal insider trading be held accountable? Secretary Bessent's answers were direct. If the law has been broken, then the law should be enforced. But that agreement didn't last long. The hearing shifted dramatically when Senator Heinrich raised concerns about a legal settlement involving the Treasury Department and the Department of Justice. He argued that an agreement connected to litigation involving President Donald Trump contained provisions that deserved far more public scrutiny. The senator repeatedly asked whether Secretary Bessent had reviewed the agreement himself or whether Treasury officials had signed off on every part of it. Instead of discussing the details, Bessent consistently pointed to the Department of Justice, explaining that the settlement was handled by government attorneys and that legal questions should be directed there. That answer only intensified the exchange. Heinrich wasn't satisfied. He pressed the secretary again and again, arguing that if Treasury is one of the agencies involved, then its leadership should know exactly what commitments were made in its name. The conversation soon became less about one document and more about responsibility inside the federal government. Who ultimately answers for a legal settlement? The lawyers who negotiated it, or the cabinet officials whose departments are affected? That question remained unanswered. The senator then expanded the discussion, pointing to Treasury's aggressive sanctions against foreign governments, terrorist organizations, and international criminal networks. He acknowledged that Treasury has taken a hard line against those accused of financial misconduct overseas. But then he asked a different question. If the government is willing to pursue financial crimes around the world, should there ever be exceptions when politically connected individuals are involved at home? Secretary Bessent continued to maintain that ongoing legal matters fall under the authority of Justice Department attorneys and declined to speculate on claims surrounding the settlement. At one point, the exchange became noticeably more personal. Heinrich suggested that the secretary was avoiding the substance of the questions by repeatedly referring back to Justice Department lawyers. Bessent calmly responded that this is how legal protocol works within the executive branch and that departments rely on DOJ when litigation is involved. Neither side moved from its position. How much authority should unelected government lawyers have when negotiating settlements on behalf of federal agencies? Some lawmakers argue that cabinet officials should be directly accountable for every significant legal agreement involving their departments. Others contend that legal strategy belongs to career attorneys and Justice Department officials, whose job is to protect the government's interests in court. This disagreement has surfaced in previous administrations as well, regardless of which party controlled the White House. As the hearing drew to a close, Heinrich argued that transparency is essential if Americans are to trust federal institutions. He said Congress deserves clear answers whenever questions arise about legal settlements involving senior government officials. Secretary Bessent, however, maintained that the process had followed established legal procedures